She laughed at dinner and said she could have had him back any time. I quietly took control of our finances, left for the lake house, and forced her to choose between our marriage or her ex, finally learning what true respect really means. Marriage is built on respect. That's what my father told me when I asked him the secret to his and Mom's 42-year relationship. You can overcome almost anything if the respect exists. He said, without it, you've got nothing. I thought I understood what he meant. Turns out I had to learn it the hard way. I met Claire 7 years ago at a friend's New Year's party. She was stunning in that effortless, magnetic way. Smart, confident, with a sharp wit that could cut glass. I was immediately drawn to her. We dated for 2 years before I proposed, and we've been married for just over 5 years now. Claire had been in a relationship with a guy named Mark before we met. They dated through college and for a couple of years after. According to Claire, they'd broken up because he wasn't ready to commit, and she was. Mark had gone to work overseas after their breakup, and that was that. Or so I thought. For the most part, our marriage had been good. We both enjoyed stable careers. I ran my own consulting business, and she was a marketing director at a major corporation. We bought a house 3 years ago, traveled regularly, and generally enjoyed our life together. Sure, we'd had our rough patches, but what couple didn't? The incident happened 3 weeks ago. We were hosting a dinner party for Claire's birthday. 8 guests, including her sister Emma, her brother-in-law, and a few close friends. The evening was flowing smoothly. Delicious food, plenty of wine, and laughter filling the room. We were in the middle of dessert when the conversation turned to relationships. Emma was sharing a story about a disastrous blind date she'd experienced before meeting her husband. Everyone was contributing their dating horror stories, and the wine was flowing freely. Remember Mark? Claire's friend Tasha asked with a grin. Didn't he try to get back with you right before you met Rob? Claire nodded, her cheeks flushed from the wine. Oh God, yes. He suddenly realized what he'd lost and came crawling back. But you were already with Rob by then, right? Someone else asked. Claire paused, hesitating. Well, we had just started dating. Nothing serious yet. I frowned slightly. This was news to me. Claire had never mentioned Mark trying to reconcile. Didn't he move back from London just for you? Emma pressed. Claire shrugged, taking another sip of wine. He says that's why he came back. The conversation might have drifted on, but then Tasha added, I saw on Instagram he's single again. Still looking good, too. That was when it happened. Claire looked across the table at me, a strange smirk playing on her face. You're lucky I settled for you, she said with a laugh. I could have had Mark back any time. Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. I just smiled politely and excused myself to fetch coffee from the kitchen. As I stood waiting for the coffee to brew, I replayed her words in my head. Settled for you. Not chose you. Not fell in love with you. Settled. Like I was the consolation prize. The backup plan. When I returned with the coffee, the conversation had moved on. Claire was animated, sharing a story about a work event, seemingly oblivious to the bomb she had just dropped. I went through the motions for the rest of the evening, smiling, pouring drinks, playing the good host, but inside, something had shifted. After our guests left, Claire was tipsy and affectionate, apparently having forgotten her comment entirely. She tried to initiate intimacy, but I declined, claiming I was tired from hosting. She fell asleep almost immediately while I lay awake beside her, thinking. The next morning, Claire had a hangover and no memory of her settled for you comment. I didn't bring it up. I needed time to process, to determine whether this was just a thoughtless drunk remark or something far more revealing. I spent the day following my usual routine, but my mind kept returning to her words, the casual way she had said them, and the fact that she had never told me about Mark trying to reconnect when we first started dating. That night, I checked our phone records online, something I had never done before. What I found sent a chill through me. Regular calls to a number I didn't recognize, always during her lunch break or when she knew I'd be busy with clients. The calls had been happening for months. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I dug deeper. The number belonged to Mark. He hadn't moved back overseas. as Claire had led me to believe. He was living just 30 minutes away, working for a competing firm in the same industry as Claire. A cold sense of clarity washed over me. This wasn't just about a thoughtless comment at a dinner party. This was about respect, or rather, the absence of it. I spent the next day preparing carefully. Claire and I had joint accounts for household expenses, but our personal spending and savings had always been separate. My business accounts were independent, of course, and Claire maintained her own cell phone plan, though we split the bill monthly. The structure had been practical and convenient, but now it became a tool for me to protect myself while maintaining calm control. I called my lawyer and accountant, explaining the situation and asking for advice on securing my assets without escalating conflict. Both urged caution and discretion. I decided on a measured approach. I removed Claire's credit cards from our joint household account and redirected them to her personal account. She would still have access to funds, but it sent a clear message. Our financial entanglement was changing. I also stopped my monthly contribution to the joint account, moving my portion of household expenses to my personal account. It was a simple move, legally innocuous yet emotionally significant. It signaled that I was no longer comfortable with trust being taken for granted. That evening, Claire texted me frustrated. Tried to buy groceries with the joint card and it got declined. I replied calmly, "I'll handle it when I get home." When I walked in, she was irritated. My card was declined at the grocery store. I had to use my personal card. I looked at her quietly. "I removed your cards from the joint account and stopped my transfers." She stared at me, bewildered. "You did what? Why without discussing it? Do you remember what you said at the dinner party about settling for me? About how you could have Mark back anytime?" Her expression shifted, color draining from her face. "I said that, Rob. I was drunk. I didn't mean anything. I might have believed that if I hadn't seen the call logs." "What calls?" she asked, panic edging her voice. "The ones to Mark, multiple times a week for months. Always when you knew I wouldn't be around." She sank into the chair. "It's not what you think. We're just friends. Friends you hide from your husband. Friends you lie about. You told me he moved overseas. I didn't want you to misinterpret." "And what misinterpretation would that be, Claire?" "That my wife maintains secret contact with an ex she once considered choosing over me." She started crying, insisting nothing physical happened. That they were just friends who shared history and emotional comfort. I left her a note on her dresser, silent but firm. When she found it, tears streamed down her face as she read. "Claire, I've removed your cards from our joint account and stopped my transfers. Your personal accounts remain unchanged. You said I was lucky you settled for me and could have Mark back anytime. I've thought about that a lot. I don't want someone who settled for me. I want someone who chooses me every day, the way I chose you. Here's your chance. Go get him then. I'll be at the lake house for a few days while you decide." She looked up, shock and hurt intermingling. "This is insane. You can't change our finances over one comment and some calls. I'm not cutting you off. You have your own money. I'm separating my finances until we figure out if I'm your choice or your fallback plan." She tried to insist I misunderstood, claiming marriage proved she chose me. Yes, but was it because Mark wasn't available? Not because I was who you really wanted. She had no satisfactory response. The trust that once seemed solid had fractured. I packed a bag and left for the lake house, a small retreat my grandparents had left me. The first night alone was brutal. I questioned my judgment, our marriage, my self-worth. Had I overreacted? Was I too harsh? Then I remembered her words, the careless cruelty hidden in humor and secrecy, and I knew I had done what was necessary. The following day, Claire texted, "Please come home. This feels like punishment, not problem-solving." I didn't reply. This wasn't about punishment. It was about space. On the second day, she called. "I'm coming to the lake house. We need to talk." "I'm not ready," I said. "I need time." "How much time to decide if you'll throw away 5 years over a drunk comment?" "It's not just the comment, Claire. It's the secrecy, the lies, the regular contact with someone you clearly still care about." She had no answer. I spent 4 days at the lake house, reflecting on subtle signs of disrespect I had overlooked or excused. Casual jabs, dismissive remarks about my work, small lies about where she'd been or who she'd seen. When I finally returned home, Claire had cooked dinner, opened my favorite wine, and apologized profusely. She showed me her call log with no recent contact with Mark. She promised to delete his number, block him on social media, and rebuild trust. I explained that respect is non-negotiable. Without it, love and history mean nothing. She committed to marriage counseling. That was 3 weeks ago. Trust remains fragile, communication improving slowly. Claire oscillates between remorse and resentment, between trying to win me back and claiming I overreacted. She knows now that mutual respect is the foundation. 3 months later, counseling continues. The full truth emerged. Mark returned stateside 2 years ago, contrary to Claire's story. Her comment was a mask to protect past hurt. Understanding this didn't solve everything, but changed how we approach our relationship. Claire started individual therapy, and I reclaimed self-respect while moving back into our bedroom. We've restored joint finances with transparency, clear boundaries, and open communication. The biggest lesson learned is that respect lives in everyday choices, words, and actions. Rebuilding it requires daily commitment. I don't know if we'll fully heal, but I know that respect is non-negotiable. I deserve a partner who chooses me every day, who respects me fully, and never suggests she settled for me. Whatever happens, I've reclaimed my own dignity.